In this video, we're going to discuss adaptive radiation as well as divergent evolution. So when we look at divergent evolution, I mentioned this earlier in my video about convergent evolution. So in convergent evolution, that's where you have different species who don't share a common ancestor evolve to look similar. Now this is the opposite. This is where we do have a common ancestor, but the populations, they spread out and then they diverge from each other. They undergo speciation and evolution independently in their own respective habitats. So in divergent evolution, it's when populations become separated by geographic barriers and then they evolve independently into their own species. They evolve in their own respective habitats while being reproductively isolated, and they'll each undergo their own natural selection, genetic drift, mutations, sexual selection. So they're going to evolve independently of each other, and then they become more and more different over time. So I think of divergent evolution as a very long time scale evolution that explains a lot of the diversity that we see on Earth. And so when we look at evidence for this, this would be homologous structures that I talked about in my 7.6 evidence for evolution video. You could also use DNA sequences to compare, or embryology. So so an example, I have two examples of divergent evolution. If we look at a large cat, or a feline ancestor. When we look at large cats across planet Earth today, we have the lynx up in the Arctic. We have tigers in Siberia and India. We have cheetahs and lions in Africa, mountain lions in America, jaguars in South America, right? So we have this divergence of cats, and then we have house cats, but we have this divergence of large cat species. Each have evolved in their respective habitats. The lynx's very large paws are kind of like snowshoes for walking through snow, and that thick fur coat is insulating because they're an endotherm living in freezing temperatures, versus the mountain lion that's evolved to have short fur living in hot, dry environments. Also camouflages well with the rock and chaparral ecosystems, right, where you have the cheetahs that evolved the black lines on their face to attract sun out of their eyes, and a spine that bends backwards and stuff. So anyway, each of these large cats have evolved traits that are beneficial and adaptive for their environments. Now, another example that I love is the basically evolution of mammals, right? So the age of mammals. Now, mammals have been on Earth for millions of years, and during the time of dinosaurs, mammals were small and nocturnal. We were really mammals were like prey for the dinosaurs. However, when the dinosaurs went extinct, you have all of a sudden, there's all these open niches, all these open ecosystems. So now you have organisms moving, there's no more predators, right? They're moving into open and available spaces, and now they're becoming separated geographically, and they're going to evolve. And so we have this now wide diversity of mammals, this rapid burst of speciation occurring following a mass extinction. Okay, so now let's compare divergent evolution to adaptive radiation. Now, adaptive radiation is very similar, but I think of it on a smaller scale. So the Galapagos finches is my favorite example of adaptive radiation. So you have the ancestral finch species that flew over from South America, and then as the finch moved or landed or flew onto the different islands, they found themselves in different habitats. So I personally have been to the Galapagos Islands, and while I didn't take these ecosystem pictures, I did take all of these bird pictures. And so when we look at how this is adaptive radiation, is as the finch landed on different islands, these volcanic islands are all at their own unique stages of primary succession, which is a topic you learn about in ecology. So these islands have different elevations, they have different weather patterns, different climate, And so they have different plant and animal species on each of the islands, which then means there's different food sources that are available for the finches. So by natural selection, different finch like beak types, colorations have evolved by natural selection on the different islands. And so these finches underwent allopatric speciation, being separated geographically and evolving into different species. So today there are 13 different species of finch on the Galapagos Islands, all evolved from one ancestral species. So this is an example of adaptive radiation, where these new species have evolved from a common ancestor, and you can kind of think like they've radiated out from that common ancestor in their space. And that's it. Great job.